Hey folks, Errol over here where I'm finally getting around to doing a garden tour. I have mostly good news about it and a little bit of sad news. If I got around to doing the tour like 5 days ago, I wouldn't have had the sad news yet. Anyway, these two beds are pretty much all potatoes. You can see I've got different varieties. That's where you see like the height difference, and these have rounder leaves and those have thinner leaves. I have to check my garden map, but I think these are red ones, and then Yukon Golds, and then Cabbage, and then some blue ones. Anyway, if you remember from the last tour I had done quite a while ago now, we had just had a really hard killing freeze down into the teens in the middle of June, so I guess that's like 6 weeks ago now, and the tops had gotten frostbit off. They seem to grow out well from that. I don't know if it overall affected their production. I haven't tried digging any yet. You can dig some new potatoes and enjoy them as, you know, fresh if you use them the next day or so when the tops are still green, but to actually harvest to store, you want to wait till the tops have fully died back. Anyway, so I'm not sure what else is going on under the ground, but on top of the ground they look really good. And then in this end of the bed, I actually had a bunch of the herbs and stuff that are now over in the planters around the house. They had just been sitting in the end of this bed waiting till we got the planters done. They've been in there, you know, since last year because I didn't have anywhere else to put them yet. And so when I dug them up and put them in the planters, then I had a hole here. And a couple days after that, I was at the local grocery store and they had, you know, a few greenhouse plants. It's not really what a grocery store does, but they always sell a few every spring, and they were to the point where they'd sold most things, and it was getting hot in the summer, and, you know, they just didn't want to deal with it anymore because that's not really their business. So they said everything left in the greenhouse was free. So I went to look at what was left in their little greenhouse, and there wasn't much, but they did have a bunch of basil plants. And I love basil. It's one of the herbs I cook with the most of all of them, but I can't usually grow it here because basil is one of those things that dies when it thinks about freezing. And normally even when we have a hot summer, we get hard killing freezes every couple weeks. We have actually gone almost 6 weeks now with no freeze or frost at all. But anyways, they were free, so I brought them home and stuck them in here. I thought if nothing else, when they freeze, I'll just take all the leaves and crumble them into a jar. But if we get a few weeks without freezing, maybe they'll do some growing. And they have done some growing. They actually look pretty pathetic when I brought them home. They've been a bit, you know, neglected there, and I wasn't sure they'd make it, but they've sent out a whole lot of new leaves, so maybe I'll actually have some basil to you know, dry for us this year, because I do use a lot of it in cooking. And if you've ever made the like spaghetti sauce tomato soup recipe I make, I put a ton of basil in there. I could use that entire patch just for the batch of, you know, whatever I do, usually 150 pounds of tomatoes every year. I could use all of it for that and not even have any left for the rest of the winter. Anyway, so that's these two big long beds, and overall things there are doing very well. Moving to this side, the potatoes are right over there. This patch is all garlic, several different varieties. So again, you might be able to see there's slightly different textures of leaves. I got 3 different varieties through there. They're all doing well. This one, hi Velcro. Hi. How's my mini kitty doing, huh? This one tall seed you can see over here, this is called a garlic scape. It's the garlic flower. It's going to shortly open and actually make tons of little seeds. That one's actually still on there only by accident. The rest of these were making scapes. Hard-neck garlic makes scapes. If you have soft-neck garlic, it does not. So if you've grown garlic and it didn't do that, you probably had soft-neck garlic. A lot of bulbs you buy at the grocery store are soft-neck garlic. Hard necks are called that because they get this real hard neck in the middle that grows the scape. They tend to do a little better in really cold climates, so that's usually what I grow, but I already snapped off the scapes on the rest of them. They taste very much that immature flower like that before it actually opens and blooms. It tastes just like garlic, and I've been dicing them up and using them in all kinds of cooking things. I know some people make pesto out of them and so on, but I wanted the plant to primarily put its energy into the bulbs down below ground rather than growing the flowers. And I meant to get them all. That one must have just been really little when I picked all its friends, and I missed it. So that's what a garlic scape looks like. The rest would have them, but I picked them. You can see how the tips of the garlic leaves are starting to turn brown. They will be harvested here before too long. That's one of the very first things that I harvest. They were planted last fall, and so they're one of the first crops that comes out the next summer. On this side is the strawberry patch. It is looking very lush and green. There might be 1 or 2 berries in there yet. I've got a decent harvest this year. They weren't very big, and I didn't get as many as I have some years, and I think it's because now my bed is too full. What I need to do here... Yes, I know you want attention. Come here. You don't have to rub all over everything. I will pet you. It was pretty full last year, and now it's fuller, and he just rolled in the dirt. I think the plants are a little crowded and some of them get a little old. A single strawberry plant does not produce for years and years in general, and this varies some with variety, and I don't know what variety I have. I call them Christie's strawberries because my friend Christy gave me the starts years ago. But you'll get pretty good strawberries the first year off of that individual plant. The second year you'll get usually the best crop. The third year it'll start to taper off, and then after that it goes to very sporadic. But each plant every year makes lots and lots of these runners, and they're starting to do that. They're hanging down all the sides of the bed. Like last fall you saw me take runners and propagate new strawberries in other places and so on. So what I need to do is just go through and dig out some of the oldest mature plants in here and just simply put them in the compost and let a few of those new runners root, so I have some more new plants coming. But overall, we ate some very delicious strawberries out of the strawberry patch. And if you are curious about birds eating them too, they do love to do so. I have a really fine mesh. It's maybe got like 1/4-inch holes, just like plastic kind of screen you can ball up. And I do, when they're just starting to get ripe, I do kind of tuck that in over the bed because otherwise the robins and stuff, or my old clearing, the chipmunks would eat all the ripe strawberries before I got any. But I don't need it on now that they're pretty much over for the year. But that does keep the birds from eating them. Then behind me here, we get to some of the sad news. This was a radish patch on each side with sugar snap peas in the middle. And we ate a bunch of radishes, and some went to seed. I've never successfully got what are they called, daikon varieties to do anything other than bolt for me. I like eating them, I've had them, but I've never successfully grown them. I don't know why they grow up and then just bolt and turn to seed. But that's not really the sad news. That was fine. They were blooming away beautifully. The bees love their flowers, so when they bolt, I say, who cares? And they actually make these little pea pods, or beans. That's a radish seed pod, except this one's all dried up. It should be green. And you can eat them much like a spicy green bean. These varieties where they're not grown for their seed pods, they kind of have short ones. There's actually rat tail radishes, which I have grown before, which make very long skinny seed pods. Like, that's not an exaggeration, they'll be that long. And they too taste like a really long kind of spicy string bean. So they can be excellent to grow for their top. So I was just letting them go ahead, go to seed, bloom away. The bees liked it. And then about 4 days ago, I had flea beetles move in. Now I've had little flea beetles. They're not fleas like that, you know, get on your skin and in your cat and stuff like that, but they look a little bit like that because they're a very tiny beetle. And I've had them before. Usually I get them on some plants like teeny baby cabbages and cauliflowers when they're just starting to grow in the spring. And then if I can get them through that without them eating the first couple leaves, they kind of go away, and I've never had them hurt mature plants. 4 days ago, well, I guess maybe 5 days ago, I'd seen just a couple start eating some sweet alyssum, which was planted in the planters around the house. It's a little white flower that smells sweet, and it's generally good for attracting beneficial bugs, but I know flea beetles like to eat the flower petals off. I saw just a couple on there, and I thought, oh well, I guess I'm not going to have any flowers on the alyssum, because I'm sure they'll eat them, and I've seen them do that in the past. It doesn't usually hurt the plant, but they eat all the petals off so they don't look white. The next day, I was out here in the garden in the morning. Everything looked good, like normal. I think I watered and picked some peas and stuff. And that afternoon, when I came back, walking through the garden like 6 hours later, there was millions of flea beetles on everything. In those 6 hours, they'd almost entirely destroyed the cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli. They ate every one of these radishes down to the brown stalks you see. And they don't even like peas, but because my sugar snap peas were growing in between, they pretty much decimated those plants. So I had just had my first picking of sugar snap peas, and there's a couple in there yet I could probably get off, but they've killed the plants, they killed the radishes, and let's look over here at these beds. So this whole bed was cabbage, green cabbage at that end, purple cabbage at this end. Then this one was a little bit more cabbage by broccoli, which you guys probably remember how good that looked when I cut the original broccoli heads, and since then I've cut several more of the side shoots, and there was lots more growing, and then some cauliflower at the end. This was the broccoli the first day I saw them, and they started eating on the leaves. The next clip is after 2 days, and the papery rustly sound you hear is the beetles jumping as I move close. There's just so many.
They're particularly bad on the broccoli, almost every broccoli leaf. After 2 days, with 2 rounds of neem oil, looks like this. There's just millions of them. They're even all over the frost covers, the ground, jumping on my legs. You can see how the edges of the leaves are, these are not even the ones they started on, are starting to look kind of like Swiss cheese, where you can see the light right through them. And the cabbages, very similar. It's just unbelievable. They're actually coating my arms and legs right now just since I sat down here.
This is what they look like. Now these plants are almost entirely dead. The leaves are brittle and crunchy.
That sound like rain, that's all the flea beetles jumping. Just when I put my hand close.
The only ones they haven't entirely killed are the purple cabbages, but I think they're going to kill them. I don't know why they ate the green ones first. Just this morning I went and cut the green cabbage heads. A lot of them are about this big. Cabbages can easily get to have heads like that. You see, they're even landing on me. They don't bite people or anything, but there are just so many of them. They're crawling on the ground, on the frost covers. They're coating the propane tank. It's not like that's even anything to eat. And I think they just, I don't know why it's a particularly bad year for them. Maybe it's been the heat. We've had an extremely hot summer. After a very cold and longer and colder and even wetter than normal spring, after a very, very dry winter, kind of right after that teens, Fahrenheit frost in mid-June, it went to being 80 or 90 degrees. The last couple weeks have been 90 to 100. That is not normal summer temperatures here. Normally the summer highs are somewhere in the 70s. It's a really hot day if it gets to 80. So I don't know if that's making them worse than normal, but it's not just here in my garden. It's the same ones that seem to like this cruciferous family of vegetables, the cabbages, cauliflowers, broccolis, and radishes. They in the radish family, they also ate all the wild mustard that was growing in the whole area. They ate off all my horseradish, which is an entirely separate place. I have a neighbor who lives like a mile or 2 from here. Every single thing in her garden got decimated like overnight at the same time. There's just some explosion here. I did, the first day I saw them, after that first 6 hours, I treated twice with neem oil. I've treated, spread coffee grounds around, which they supposedly don't like, which I don't blame them for. Coffee's gross. I agree with them. I know most of the world disagrees. I have dusted, if you still see some white stuff on the leaves, I've dusted with diatomaceous earth several times, which is supposed to kill them. I think some of it did kill some of those. Are all natural things. You can eat diatomaceous earth or DE. I do. You can take it as a silicon or mineral supplement, but it's on little bugs. It kind of scratches their shells and they dehydrate and die that way. So it doesn't hurt anything for you. Neem oil isn't toxic to people. Coffee isn't toxic to people. I just think it's gross. Anyway, I think because when I shake a leaf, there's actually a bunch of dead bugs. I think I did kill a bunch, but there are so many millions or billions around that it hasn't made any difference. So I picked the cabbage heads this morning because they were starting to eat into the head that had formed, and I was going to lose what I did have. The purple ones are just starting to form heads. They're always slower than the greens, so they're not even big enough to be worth trying to pick, so I'm letting them go and see if they can pull out of it, if we can get like a properly cold night. See, that's the other thing. It's been like almost 60 at night, and that is not normal for us in the summer. Usually it's somewhere in the 30s. A warm night would be like 42. and plenty of nights get below freezing. So where we've had no freezing nights in 6 weeks now, I don't know if that's why they're so bad, but anyway, that's a little discouraging because the cabbage all looked beautiful. So did the broccoli. The cauliflower was just starting to make heads, and it is all dead. So, like somebody, I think this was Doug and Stacy, had said a while ago in one of their videos, this is why grocery stores are popular, because trying to produce your own food is a lot of work. Anyway, on to happier news. Let's look at some of these other beds. This is the lettuce patch, which you guys saw up close when I did my cut and come again video on lettuce. And I'm still doing that. We've eaten a lot of lettuce and it keeps growing back, and you can't even really tell that I've cut bags and bags out of there this year. And if you missed that video, I've got a few comments recently where people said, oh, it's so nice to see a notification about that you have a video. I haven't seen one in a long time. There's been a lot of videos recently, so if you haven't seen notifications for them, your notifications might have got turned off, or I've even heard some people say they've got unsubscribed, not just from my channel but from other channels. It seems to be something YouTube does. I don't know why if you're on YouTube, but you might want to go check your subscribe thing. If you hit the little bell and then you hit it twice, then they actually notify you. I don't know why they do all that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Or follow the videos on Odyssey where there's none of those shenanigans. If you tried Odyssey in the past and it had a lot of buffering, they have fixed that issue. It's no longer an issue. But anyway, if you think that this is the first video you've seen in a while and that's so exciting, you've probably missed a bunch. The other thing you can do for my channel or any other channel on either Odyssey or YouTube, when you go to the channel homepage, is go to the videos tab, and they will just all be there in order. There's like 750 videos now on this channel, and they're all on both of those places in order from, you can sort them different ways, but I think they automatically sort from newest to oldest, so you can easily scroll back and see if there's ones you missed. So anyway, that's just a note there. But anyway, the lettuce is doing great. We've eaten a lot of lettuce with a lot of different things. That's looking at the poor sad radishes from the other side. The beets are doing very well. Once again, I've got multiple kinds. You can kind of see the different textures and colors of leaves. This first patch is red beets. This patch is golden beets. Or I'm sorry, this patch is candy stripe beets, the ones that look like a candy cane. Red and white circles in the middle. They're really cool. And this stripe is golden. And some of them are just getting big enough that I need to start pulling and eating some. And they should keep growing. And they look really good. And then behind me is the onion patch. In the middle of that was the green beans that had frozen in that late freeze. I did replant those. The replanted ones are just starting to make little buds. I don't know if they'll have time to actually make beans before we get fall freezes or not. And I let some strawberry spinach grow up in between them here. You can see that's starting to bloom and be able to eat the little strawberries off of that. That was just in my compost. The seed from that was in my compost. I didn't really plant it there. I just let it grow because I like it. And then I had run out of onions just at this end when I was planting and had a teeny bit of row left. So I put in a couple of zucchinis, which do not reliably do well for me because they like warmer weather. But where we've had 6 weeks now with no freezes, they're looking really good. They're blooming away, and I'm going to be soon cutting my first couple of zucchini. Most year, I know that's something in a lot of warmer areas you can grow gobs and gobs of. Most year, if I plant zucchini, I get 3 or 4 before they freeze hard and we're done for the whole fall. But it looks like maybe this year, that's one thing that's going to be really happy. Onions starting to make some pretty nice bulbs. Onions are slow growing. This is the strawberry spinach. Oh, get the onion top out of the way. That's strawberry spinach. You can eat the leaves like spinach, but these little berries taste, I don't think they taste like strawberries. They look kind of strawberry colored. I think they taste like mulberries, and they're delicious. And then you can see the replanted green beans there, how they're just starting to get buds. And then we come this way a little bit further. You get to the last bed, which is whole peas, the ones you shell in the center here, with carrots down both sides. I have picked quite a few buckets of these guys. They have been delicious. I have not pulled any carrots yet, but I bet some are getting big enough to do so. Let's find out if the soil might be dry enough that I need. Oh, there comes one. Oh, there's a little cosmic purple one. Very first carrot I've pulled this year. If you guys haven't seen these, I grow lots of colors. There's orange ones and yellow ones and purple ones and red ones, but these cosmic purple, they look like that on the outside. Very purple, but check this out. That's actually a pretty yellow one. Most of them are actually oranger inside. I've gotten a few of these before, they're more yellow, but they're really pretty with the purple outside and the yellow or orange inside. And they're delicious. Anyway, that whole bed, I'm not busy chewing a carrot, is doing really well. And I expect to pick a bunch more peas. They still have some more buds coming. And yeah, they should be picking a lot of carrots soon. And then this is really technically out of the veggie garden, but this is my herb and berry bush berm bed off on the side that you guys probably saw in the video update on trees and bushes we planted. But we got currant bushes growing several places through there and a few lilac bushes. And this is where I planted strawberry runners all around the edge, and they have grown into these massive bushy plants that are each making gobs and gobs, like hundreds of new runners each. So I'm going to have to thin them out a little bit. I want them to make a thick carpet there, but not be so crowded that they can't grow. And I have a friend who wants some strawberries, so I'm going to give her some of my runners. And other than that, there's herbs growing all through here of different kinds, different things blooming away, from hyssop down there and valerian to lots of chives, some things that aren't even herbs, blanket flowers, and sweet william, and some kind of salvia that bees like. And down there I've got more different kinds of hyssop and mint and yarrow and tansy, and I think there's 3 different kinds of mints and like 4 kinds of hyssops and catnip. Anyway, you get the idea. That's what's growing in there. That bed's doing quite well. So overall, that's what the garden is looking like. Once again, if I had done this video just a few days ago when I actually meant to get to it and didn't have time, I wouldn't have known about the flea beetle issue yet because it hadn't happened yet, and I would have told you the whole garden was doing fabulous. Now most of the garden is doing fabulous and part of it is dead. So that is life when you're gardening. And we will hope for some killing freezes to get rid of the bugs, and then hope that this weather doesn't happen next year and that this is just a particularly bad year for flea beetles. I've been gardening in Wyoming for 15 years now. Never seen them like this. So I don't know what all combined to make it that bad, but it's a little bit sad. But overall, still, the entire garden looks much better than it did last year, and that's really encouraging. I am about to do a soil test again. It's about the same time as when I did one last year, and I had done all those mineral amendments and added them with the compost and everything last fall to try to get this soil in better shape. Done several drenches with things like compost tea and my fermented dandelion juice and stuff to try to get really good microbial life going in there, and I think that's a lot better. But where our soil was so imbalanced when I tested on the basic minerals, I'm gonna run another test and see if I got it at all like halfway closer, just so I know what to work with. I'm not necessarily gonna do one every year, but I think I'm gonna do 2 years in a row this time, where I'm getting this garden established and figuring out what we really need, because that also gives me, in addition to for the veggie garden, it gives me kind of feedback on what I probably need to do around all the berry bushes and trees and fruit trees and, you know, all that stuff as well. So that's helpful info to have. So I plan to do that here shortly. But that's how things are looking right now. Hopefully you guys are all having lovely gardening years where you are, and no flea beetles.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Come back next time for more adventures.
Thanks for watching.